Please, uniform.
This meeting is being recorded.
Nah, you just go to Zoom. I'm on there now. Go to Zoom.
Nah, you just gotta go to Zoom.
Zoom.us, whatever. Zoom.us and say join meeting.
In the Jewish community on Friday night and all day Saturday till the sun goes down, we say Shabbat Shalom, which means Sabbath peace. So it's Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And I'm so happy to see you all here. I've been part of the Martin Luther King Jr. service in the synagogue when I was the rabbi here for 6 years in the past. I've been called back to fill in until the new rabbi can arrive. And so it's my privilege to be able to be here for the honoring of 8 very important young people in this community. Tonight at this service, part of our liturgy comes from the words of Martin Luther King Jr. We're not going to read them all, though. The quotes are in the book, but to keep the service shorter, we're going to allow you to read a lot of those on your own. We'll read some of them. Dr. King did more than move our hearts. He also changed our minds. His life was about belief and action, but also about knowledge. The function of education, he said, is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of our education, when it's a true education. This congregation has sought each year for a quarter of a century to promote Dr. King's vision by supporting our schools and honoring exceptional students from each high school who best represent the values of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We hold up to the light those who have learned to bear light, to bring hope, to carry on the works of this great man. So I ask you to join me tonight in faith and in knowledge and in spirit and in thought and in goodness and in truth. Working together, these are the things that will mend the world in which we live best. We're also very pleased to have an important guest speaker, but we will introduce her a little bit during the service. Please turn in your service booklets to page 3. In the middle of that page, we sit together with neighbors we may never have met. We thank God for bringing us together in celebration with a common purpose to uplift this world. Oh, how good and pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to dwell together. Those are the words of the psalm. We'll sing in Hebrew. Hinei ma tov man na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. One of the most important things that our congregation does, in addition to honoring people like these young people tonight, is that we become honored by families that choose to come here to celebrate important moments in their life. Like the couple who came a week ago and they said, Rabbi, it's our 50th wedding anniversary. Please bless us in front of the ark. We were married here 50 years ago. Or the young couple, I came in and they said, Rabbi, my girlfriend and I just arrived by sailboat from France. I wanted her to see where I had my bar mitzvah. So I'm calling up a young family here that is their daughter Natalie has chosen to honor us by becoming a bat mitzvah here tomorrow morning at our morning service. And they're going to help us by ushering in the Sabbath with the symbol of light. Uh-oh, try again.
You got it. Do both.
Hold it there. Hey, keep holding it. Great job.
Amazing. Okay, me too. My turn, right? Okay.
May the light of Dr. King's spirit shine upon us and the young people honored today. May we learn from him and from them to shine the light of disclosure on every injustice and spread the light of God's truth into every dark corner and onto every cast out soul. May these Sabbath lights remind us of the power of God's light and of God's truth.
In the storms of our lives, in wind and the water and the hard work of repair, we have known darkness and we have tasted despair. We kindle these flames to invite justice into our lives. We light these lights to invite holiness into our hearts. We remember dark nights that we might be bearers of light. We light these lights in the face of hate. May these Sabbath lights sow love, compassion, and tolerance in the world around. 3 times.
We bring this Sabbath light into our heads, into our hearts, and into our homes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. It's now official.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Oh, hear my prayer I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Oh, hear my prayer I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you.
Jewish leaders like Abraham Joshua Heschel walked with Martin Luther King on many marches. He was the preeminent Jewish philosopher of the 20th century. And when asked by his students why he was marching, he said, "I pray with my feet." And Martin Luther King returned the same allegiance against injustice by being with the Jewish community in fighting for the liberation of oppressed Jewry in the former Soviet Union. Because he knew that where people are oppressed in one place, they're oppressed everywhere. And all people are oppressed. So now this is the Sabbath, and our introductory prayers are to see the Sabbath in a very personal way. The Sabbath becomes a malka, a queen, and a kala, a bride. And it's almost like she enters into the synagogue, and we sing this song, and the last verse of it, we all rise and we face the door to greet her as she enters, the Sabbath bride. And we do this every week, usually in Hebrew, but we've got a version in English tonight, so you can understand it. So it's not totally familiar in terms of the melody to us, but it gives everyone the understanding of how the Sabbath is such a personal experience. There's a wedding here every Friday night between us and the Sabbath day. It's page 5. And that's a picture, by the way, of a Yemenite Jewish bride. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. He can remember a single command the only God caused us to hear. The eternal is one, God's name is one. God's our honor and glory and praise. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Come with me to meet Shabbat. Forever a fountain of blessing. Still it flows as from the start, the last of days for which the first was made. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Awake, awake, your light has come. Arise, shine, awake and sing. Awake, awake, your light has come. The eternity's glory dawns upon you. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Enter in peace. We rise and greet her as she comes in. Then enter in gladness, enter in joy. Come to the people that keeps its faith. Enter, O bride, enter, O bride. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. And please remain standing for the call to worship on page 6. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Die, 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 die. Please be seated and join me in this short litany. And now, Israel, what is it that your God asks of you? God says, I call you to join me. We pray to God and praise God for the transitions of our lives from light to darkness. Roll into dark,
Roll into light.
night becomes day,
Day turns to night. Roll into dark. Roll into light. Night becomes day. Day turns to night.
Boreom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, ve'choshech mipnei or. Boreom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, ve'choshech mipnei or. On page 7, please join me in this quote from Dr. King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Injustice to any people is a threat to justice to all people. And I cannot stand idly by, even though I live in the United States, and even though I happen to be an American Negro, and fail to be concerned about what happens to my brothers and sisters who happen to be Jews in Soviet Russia. For what happens to them happens to me, and to you, and we must be concerned. The watchword of our faith is about oneness. It's about God's oneness. We say, "Hear, O Israel, the eternal is our God, the eternal is one." And Dr. King's message was that we can't understand God's oneness without becoming one ourselves. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. And the bottom right-hand corner of that page, we'll sing the translation of the continuation of that verse from that passage from Deuteronomy. Thou shalt love Adonai thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. These words which I command you on this day shall be in thy heart, shall be in thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou risest up, and when thou liest down, and when thou liest down. And thou shalt bind them as a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that ye may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. The only real way that we understand God's presence in our lives is how God has been there for us in the past. And certainly the Jewish people know that very well. There's so many times when we should have been over and done with in history, but we're still here. And many of us know that truth in our own personal lives as well, that God has had our backs. And so we remember, and this synagogue reflects that, these beautiful synagogues in the Caribbean built by the Jews who fled the Spanish, the expulsion of Jews from Spain and the Inquisition in Portugal, and they settled in the Caribbean, and they built their synagogues with the benches facing each other from the north and south, with the pulpit in the back and the ark and the cross, with a sand floor. And if you look at it, at least the way I see it from up here, it's like the splitting of the Red Sea. And you walk across the dry seabed to Mount Sinai on the other side to get the Torah and that wonderful revelation of God to us. So they crossed the sea, and Miriam took a timbrel in her hand, the sister of Moses, and with confidence and love, she led our children, our ancestors away from fear and hesitation, despair and hatred, until all hands were joined, all voices raised in hymn and thanksgiving. The song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, and an earth protected and cherished, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi kamocha, who is like you, God, they sang. Standing at the sea, mi kamocha, standing at the sea, mi kamocha, standing at the sea, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Join me, please, standing and singing, mi kamocha, singing and dancing, mi kamocha, singing and dancing, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. They're coming up behind, mi kamocha, they're coming up behind, mi kamocha, they're coming up behind, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Bound no more, mi kamocha, bound no more, mi kamocha, bound no more, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. The sea sheep parts, mi kamocha, the sea sheep parts, mi kamocha, the sea sheep parts, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Walking through the water, mi kamocha, walking on the water, mi kamocha, walking on the water, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. We're on the other side, mi kamocha, we're on the other side, mi kamocha, we're on the other side, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. One God, mi kamocha, one God, mi kamocha, one God, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom on our way. Standing at the sea, mi kamocha, standing at the sea, mi kamocha, standing at the sea, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Singing and dancing, mi kamocha, singing and dancing, mi kamocha, singing and dancing, mi kamocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. The Eternal delivered Jacob and saved him from the arms of one stronger than himself. Praised are you, Eternal, who redeems us from time and event. The scariest part of the day when I was a child was always at night, because I knew there were so many dark, mysterious forces ready to get me from that side when I was looking that direction, or from that side when I was looking in that direction. So we pray to God every night that God will cause us to lay down in peace and to wake us again in the morning in peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, in peace. V'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, in life. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, 'cause all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, there'll be no more wars, and the children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
The very beginning of chapter 2 of Genesis tells us that it's incumbent for us to keep the Sabbath. V'shamaru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, for all our generations. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לארצם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, Shavat vayinafash v'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. On page 11, there's no number on the bottom, but it's the one after page 10. The pink page, it's the Amidah. It's a part of the service where we start out singing together, but it gives us private time to be with God. As a matter of fact, we usually begin it by taking 3 tiny steps backward out of the context of where we are and 3 steps forward into God's presence as an individual, not as a congregation. It's you and God. It doesn't matter how busy God is in the Andromeda galaxy, God has time for you here and now, each one of us individually. So we'll sing the first 2 blessings in Hebrew, and then we'll sing some in English. And then there'll be silence for you and God, and the prayers of your hearts, the needs, or just the beautiful, meditating on the beautiful sayings of Dr. King that are in the next couple of pages. Please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi geula livnei v'neihem lema'an shemo bi'ahava melech ozer u'moshia u'magen Baruch atah Adonai magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah atah gibor le'olam Adonai mechayei hakol atah rab lehoshia meshiva ruach u'morid agashem Mechalkel hayim behesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech nofelim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, micha mocha baal gevurot, umido melach, Melech meimit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai mechaye hakol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and we celebrate your holiness day by day. You are holy, your name is holy, and we celebrate your holiness day by day. Ata kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha. You are holy, your name is holy, and we celebrate your holiness day by day. You are holy, your name is holy, and we celebrate your holiness. Celebrate your holiness. We celebrate your holiness day by day. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakam.
continue in silence and be seated when you're finished.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו
On page 16, there's a long list of people who we've been asked to pray for their healing. And I'd like to ask you if there's anyone in particular that you would like, either from that list or someone not on that list, that you need to call out that name and ask for special healing for that person, for a complete healing from God. Any particular names we'd like to call out from in this sanctuary? Yes. Henry? Kurt? Kirk Henry. Okay. Steve Samuelson. Anybody from our guests as well? We're interested in who needs healing in your families and amongst your friends. Tim McGavick. Mm-hmm. I'm repeating the name so that people on Zoom will hear.
Lisa Stone.
Lisa Stone. Christopher Martin? Yes. Akil Francis. Casey Frederick. Is there anyone among our listeners on Zoom who have people that they'd like to pray for healing? The Furtzik family, yes. No one on Zoom, okay. If you turn back a page to 15, the bottom of that page, you know that all our prayers go out to those we've have on that list, all those we've mentioned out loud, and the many people we may have in our hearts for healing whose names we may not want to mention out loud because of confidentiality and sensitivity, but we know that we're praying for their healing and that God, listening, will heal and give them the healing that they need.
Sheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBeracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor haberacha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Well, now we've come to the part of our service we all have been waiting for. That's to honor our students who are deserving of recognition tonight because of their activities in their schools and their communities and their churches. And we are happy to be able to honor them today. And I'm going to call upon them in the order that they are in the program and give them an opportunity to say a few words to you that they've come ready to say, I think, hopefully. Beginning with Makeda Elizabeth Cabby, and she's been chosen by her school, All Saints Cathedral. And by the way, there's at the end of the book, there are a bit of a bio on each student. I'm not going to read that whole bio. I'll just say that Makeda is a leader who's taken the initiative to propose and complete her task successfully. She's a team player, and we're happy to be able to call her to be honored today. Makeda, come on up. Stand in front of one of the microphones. Okay.
Good evening to all.
Good evening.
Mental health is not a destination, but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you're going. Dr. King, as a youth born and raised in the Caribbean, I can attest that Caribbean people are resilient. We are the ones to keep pushing through hard times and not complain. Though our fortitude is an admirable quality, we have learned to neglect our problems because of fear of shame and lack of resources. To help my community become the healthiest version of ourselves, Dr. King, I would change how we view mental health by educating and encouraging our Virgin Islands community. Consequently, natural disasters such as 2 Category 5 hurricanes and recent COVID-19 restrictions have exacerbated mental health problems for many individuals. Other social issues such as trauma occurred due to loss, neglect, abandonment, abuse, and poverty are chronic problems for those struggling with mental health. It is unfortunate that for many people, there is distrust in expressing mental health concerns, even to family members, as these personal revelations are often dismissed or ignored. The time is always right to do what is right. In lieu of these inspirational words of yours, Dr. King, as a high school senior, I would encourage members of our school's administration to allow mental health professionals to host a series of interactive mental health discussions at our institution. The looming question, Dr. King, is how can I help someone who struggles with mental health? I could start a no-judgment mental health peer group to support students and discuss how a deteriorating mental condition impacts academics while aiding their development of healthy coping skills. Dr. King, what are children without adults guiding them? Adults could be involved along with the oversight of mental health professionals to discuss pertinent issues and resources. When adults get help and treat their trauma, they are more equipped to raise emotionally intelligent and well-rounded children. Holding activities like forums, for example, can start the process of prioritizing mental health throughout the United States Virgin Islands territory. Another memorable quote of yours states, "We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now." Your quotes and legacy have inspired me to believe that though we have all had different mental health journeys, we must unite to help those who need our kindness. In addition, we need to be the visionaries who deter acts of insensitivity within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Makeda, right? I'm not sure if this is the right one, but you shade what the person is. I congratulate you. I know you have challenged Dr. King, and he's been listening attentively and empowered us to respond appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to call up Aisha Kameni, chosen by the Antilles School as this year's recipient. She is a committed member of the school's junior State of America chapter, which focuses on social justice initiatives and political discourse and civil engagement. She's passionate about social justice and dedicates her time and energy to organizations that are in line with her values.
Good evening, members of the community. From augmented reality to quantum computing, technological advancements are set to transform society in the coming years. While innovations like these will improve the quality of life for millions, they will also likely exacerbate existing social inequities, including the wealth gap. Provided the opportunity to help forge social change, I would harness the power of technology to improve educational access for marginalized populations worldwide. Education is a pillar of any successful society. It not only allows individuals to acquire basic arithmetic and reading skills, but also teaches critical analysis and problem solving, which allow one to navigate future problems. Despite the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child recognizing education as a legal right, it is still considered a privilege for many. Recent data from UNESCO shows that 258 million children are out of school worldwide. Out of that, 60% are young girls, and 58 million are of elementary school age. In learning about the extraordinary life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I've deeply resonated with his belief that meaningful progress towards equality can be achieved by the youth in a nonviolent means. One such form of activism Dr. King supported was the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as the SNCC. Founded and run by America's youth, those in the SNCC worked tirelessly to organize action-driven campaigns, such as the Freedom Rides, the March on Washington, and various sit-ins which were integral to the civil rights movement. By empowering the youth, Dr. King helped the younger generation become active participants in civil discourse and ensured his message of equality and fairness would live on for an eternity. In one of many speeches encouraging youth participation in the civil rights movement, Dr. King poignantly said, "One of the greatest liabilities of history is that all too many people fail to remain awake through great periods of social change." He encouraged the youth to be innovative and continue fighting the good fight, even when the odds seemed impossible. Recently, one 13-year-old girl, Anishka Jolly, followed that advice. After witnessing a 6-year-old bullied repetitively for her appearance at a school event, she created Kavach, an anti-bullying platform that brings teachers, parents, and students together to combat bullying. One cool feature is that before one sends a mean-spirited message to another person, an alert pops up, allowing you to think about your decision twice. Her actions are most definitely inspiring and are in the spirit of Dr. King's beliefs. While Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. unrelentingly fought against segregation in the United States, he never forgot about the plight other populations face when they find themselves victims of oppression. He is famously quoted as saying, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Following the example of Anishka Jolly and Dr. King, it's my belief that we all have a responsibility to the aforementioned 258 million children who aren't afforded the basic right to education they deserve. Philanthropic organizations should work to create programs that get devices and internet access to these children so that they have access to online educational programs. Assisting with the expansion of such programs will improve literacy worldwide, lift many out of poverty and hunger, while also empowering people to take control of their own destinies. In addition to providing an education to the disadvantaged, the youth will also benefit from a multicultural education. Research has shown that there is a significant correlation between a multicultural education and less bias. Having open discussions about race and gender enables children to celebrate their diversity and gain a deeper understanding of the perspectives people from all different walks of life have. The positive effects of students recognizing and rectifying their own biases can reverberate for generations to come, not only creating better educational experiences, but compassionate members of society who truly care for each other and root for one another's success. In recent years, numerous social justice concerns have swept across the globe. Sadly, most of these have gone unresolved. While participating in social media campaigns can help spread awareness on society's most pressing challenges, it's just not enough. It's my hope that we can all reflect on Dr. King's legacy and work collaboratively to effect everlasting change. Thanks for listening, and once again, I would like to thank the Hebrew congregation for this award.
Marcia, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your message on education. And I know that as much as we've understood the damage that COVID did to our educational level of our young people, the climate changes and climate disasters that are ahead are going to be a great challenge to the education of people who were fleeing from one place to another to avoid climate change. I'm going to call Ariel Paul up. She's been chosen by Charlotte Amalie High School as this year's recipient and has been volunteering at the Mathnasium and tutoring in math, and she deserves our recognition tonight.
would you change the world? The question is similar to those that ask, what would you do with $1 billion? It's fun to dream about, but not something that's likely to happen. Regardless, it is a question that most people are posed to answer at least once. So, how does one go about changing the world? Do they focus on the big issues like war, poverty, or discrimination? There's no one thing you can dream up that can solve the world's problems, but it's possible to make a lasting impact. If Dr. King asked me what I would do to change the world, my answer would be to approach it from the source, by changing the hearts and minds of people. Many of the challenges we face today are caused by three main things: a lack of empathy, a lack of understanding, and a lack of respect for other cultures, religions, and lifestyles. Very often, these things go hand in hand. For example, when it comes to the issue of climate change, there are many people that deny it, that call it a hoax and make it political. But we know that something is wrong because the Earth is changing at a faster rate than it ever has before, going through thousands of years of change in just a few decades. And we see these changes. There are many communities that are impacted by it. So there's not only a severe lack of understanding in what climate change is, there is also a lack of respect for our world and a lack of empathy for those who are affected. Some hear about these negatively impacted communities and believe that there is nothing that they can really do about it. And because of the lack of understanding, it prevents them from realizing that they can, in fact, do something about it. This cycle can be applied to many problems, especially those that affect different minority groups. As Dr. King said, nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. People hate what they do not understand, and so that is where many social justice issues come from as well. For anything to be done about it, there would need to be many changes made on both political and societal levels. First, however, the people who make up the government and the society must be on board. Dr. King once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." The feat of changing the world is too heavy for one person to bear alone. However, through my future career path journalism, I plan to shed light on things that matter. I'll do my part to change the heart of people through words. I want to build a platform where marginalized groups, racial minorities, the lower class, and the disabled can have a voice. Making information available to those in charge and to those who vote for those in charge is essential. Change does not happen overnight. It is up to the individual. But through information and outreach, more positive changes can be made. It's not about the singular action. What comes after is what can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, right. Ariel? Thank you. Congratulations. Appreciate your message on change, which is increasing exponentially in this world. And historian Yuval Noah Harari says that the most important thing for young people to prepare themselves for increasingly rapid change is to be able to recreate themselves over and over and again in different functions in life as the jobs they assume disappear with AI and they have to assume another role. So be ready to change. I'd like to call up Leandra Dagu, chosen by Gift Hill School as this year's recipient. She's a lead member of her school's diversity club and an advocate for inclusive community and fighting for the right of each individual to be respected.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is a wonderful place to travel to and live. We're one of the places with the bluest waters, most diverse environments, and a rich history all around us. If Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were to ask me the question, what would you do to change the community or the nation or the world for the better? I would tell him that one way I could change my community is to clean up the environment. As much as we take pride in our island's beauty, there is a dark underlying issue that needs to be resolved. Our streets, mangroves, forests, and oceans are filthy even if it doesn't appear that way to a passerby. Abandoned cars, rundown buildings, overflowing garbage bins, and trash suffocates our mangroves and oceans. We need to care about this issue, not just because it affects tourism, which is a major source of income, but more importantly because it affects the health and pride of those who make our homes and raise our families here. Although we're being educated on the benefits of using the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle, we still have to deal with recycled items sitting in a dump. Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority do their best to clean up, but is it really enough? Our landfills are at capacity and are overflowing with garbage. And without the proper disposal of these items, trash wanders into our environment, messes up our crystal waters and the creatures that reside there in the mangroves and on land. Some ways we can move towards a better Virgin Islands is by caring about our community just as Dr. King did. Although this care and pride takes a different form, cleanups and campaigns to educate the public about recycling initiatives can be just as impactful on our community as sit-ins and marches. As a community, we must raise our voices and lead with our action to take back our community and make it the place our children deserve. As a part of the next generation, we have a huge responsibility to make our home a much better place. It is going to be a difficult task, but as I look around here and I listen to my fellow awardees, I am confident we are up to the task. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andra. And I appreciate your message about caring for our community, our world with recycling. And I know that just say no to single-use plastic. Thank you. I'd like to call upon Anissa Wallen, representing the Ivana Eudora Ken High School, as this year's recipient. And she has volunteered at numerous organizations, including the Department of Health. Community activities are important to her, benefiting the mentally ill and through her natural leadership abilities. And we're pleased to be able to honor her tonight.
Good evening. Martin Luther King Jr. was a brave man who fought for many injustices faced by people of color. He was an amazing change agent during his short life, and he continues to inspire future generations to be change agents in their communities. In the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., to change my community for the better, I want to create a safe place where students of all ages feel comfortable speaking up about being bullied. This safe space will also educate other students on the effects of bullying and on ways to stop it. I would create a territory-wide anti-bullying youth educational program that is school that could include community anti-bullying events. I am passionate about being a change agent in my community on this topic because I was bullied and know firsthand how it feels. According to Pacer.org, 1 out of every 5 students reports being bullied. Without help, being bullied can negatively affect an individual's mental health and ability to learn and lead to substance abuse. Martin Luther King would have never been a bystander when faced with bullying. He once said, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people." Experiencing being bullied, I know how it negatively impacts my self-confidence. I became reserved and quiet. If you know me, I'm the opposite. I am lively, friendly, and outspoken. When I was younger, I had a noticeable speech impediment. I was teased for being fat and being big-lipped, or fish-lipped. I am thankful that my parents noticed that change in my personality and were able to seek help for me. My school and some of my teachers were wonderful in helping to stop the bullying. Now imagine students of all ages being educated and empowered to speak up against bullying. Imagine every school having a safe space to appropriately address bullies and the bullied before it even becomes a problem. This territory school-based anti-bullying program will include key community stakeholders such as the Department of Education, Department of Health, Division of Behavioral Health, and the Department of Human Services. These departments would work collaboratively to implement and address bullying in the territory. This program is attainable and will benefit many and address bullying in the territory. This program is attainable and would benefit many individuals in our community, significantly impacting individual lives. Finally, I will tell Martin Luther King Jr. he was a great inspiration, and I want to follow in his footsteps to make and taking a stance against bullying and not being a bystander. Also, that if you have happy and healthy community members, your community will reap great benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elisa, and thank you for your message on bullying. I also was bullied, so I understand that message as well. And for your call for safe spaces in our community institutions. But I'd like to add on to that each of us should create a safe space that surrounds the people around us as we speak up for those who are being bullied. Thank you. Samantha Curlis Sabretti has been chosen by St. Thomas St. John's Seventh-day Adventist School as this year's recipient. She's been involved in her church community services monthly. She feeds the homeless and programs of the Shiloh SDA Youth Weekly Breakfast for the homeless. And she is definitely humble and a leader in her community and worthy of being honored by us today. Samantha?
Good evening. How would you answer Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., were he be alive today and asked you the question, what would you do to change the nation for the better? Is there really a way to change the nation for the better? That is $1 million question. And is there a way, and if there is a way, how can that be accomplished? I dare say, there are several ways to bring about change. It may be change in your home, in your neighborhood, at work, or even within yourself. There is a popular song by Michael Jackson that says, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. You may find that making a difference for others makes the biggest difference in you, by Brian Williams. There are many ways to make a difference, even on the nation as a whole. If Martin Luther King Jr. asked me, what would I do to change the nation? I would tell him that I would start with God. Many do not know of God's love. Therefore, they do not love their country, their nation, or the people around them, or even themselves, for God is love. The world has slowly neglected God's presence and his teachings. An atheist named Madeleine Murray O'Hare filed several lawsuits seeking to remove prayer and the use of Bibles from school. Today, she is known as the woman who ended prayer in American public schools during the early 1960s. Violence continues to get worse, especially with more young men and women. I believe that if prayer and the Bible were brought back into schools, it would make a major difference in the children. Children would be more unlikely to participate in violence. They would also make a positive influence on their peers. As Christians, we must share God with the nation around us. I believe it is clear that we need God in America again. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said, to be a Christian without prayer is no more possible than to be alive without breathing. We can't have one without the other. In conclusion, I believe God is needed to make a difference in the nation. I would try my best to make a difference in the nation by first making a difference where I live. I would tell others about God and the good things that would come about if he was once again introduced to the nation. This will then improve the current state of the world today. One nation committed to God in prayer will make the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Appreciate it. And thank you for the message of the importance of spirituality and trueness to God. That certainly has been what has given the Jewish people our hope and our strength through the ages. And I would call upon Pierre Joseph, who's been chosen by St. Peter and Paul Catholic School. He is involved with his church, with serving as a lector with Holy Family Church. And he has collected food for the poor and has volunteered and listening and learning. He's definitely worthy of being honored today by us.
Good evening. How would I change the world for the better? The world is massive, and many individuals live in it. In my eyes, it is very easy to make a difference. If I start with something small, and many people decide to help, then we can make a difference that will affect the world. Indeed, even little changes can influence the world because a little thought can impact different thoughts and impact others to need help too. Every individual on the planet ought to figure out how to utilize their abilities and information to help the world. If I have any desire to impact the world, I need to change myself. How is it going to work? You add to impacting the world by working on yourself and striving to accomplish your goals. At the point when you succeed, you furnish others with a model they can live by. I think of myself as a hard worker, which means I can acquire more knowledge and skills that I can apply to solve various problems and share with others to help them. Most real-world tasks require the cooperation of many people. So I will use my good leadership skills to organize a team to work on my projects. I believe that the quality that will help me most is dedication. It is crucial to be devoted to your work to achieve success, because if you want to make a difference in the world, you need to be ready to invest a lot of your time and energy. I need to improve every day to change myself and the world for the better. My dedication and aim for high achievement are the tools that I will use. This is a significant quality since it was the real quality that pushed Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. along. As you can see, Dr. King's dedication to something he loved influenced the world to become a better place. My only wish is to help others. I want my story to be about a young man who worked hard to study and make money to help others achieve success. I believe in being helpful to others, not to be recognized, but to affect people's lives positively, as the Bible tells us to, and as Dr. Martin Luther King taught us to. I will also teach my group about the love of God and the difference He can make in their lives. God inspired me to make this preparation. God has His plans for each of our lives. We just have to seek Him, and He will give us the strength we need to go on. How I will help other people is not going to affect the world by itself. However, it might impact different thoughts, as well as others who need help. Small things you do for the world make simple differences, and little by little, our world will become an improved place to live in. When we improve ourselves, we improve the world. We need to use our strengths to serve as we strive to become better people. Laying out significant standards and investing energy to accomplish them is the lifestyle choice of a cheerful and significant life, and it prompts a superior world for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. I appreciate it. Pierre, thank you for your message about the importance of changing, and I guess the importance of changing from without, beginning with changing within. I'd like to call up Kai Lewis Eunice, who's representing the Virgin Islands Montessori School and Peter Gruber International Academy, and she's been involved in church media ministry, volunteering, assistance, setup, all kinds of important things. Empowering women of color and marginalized communities has been important to her, and she deserves our honor and respect today.
Good evening.
Get nice close to the microphone.
Good? Okay. In Martin Luther King's I Had a Dream speech, he stated that 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 159 years later, his proclamation still holds true in many aspects, especially regarding health care for African Americans. I would change my community by ensuring that every Black person receives quality health care. It is well documented that African Americans systemically receive inadequate health care due to racial biases held unconsciously and consciously. These biases have led people to believe that there are biological differences between Caucasians and descendants of Africans, such as that Black people have thicker skin and a higher pain tolerance. These medical fallacies endanger the safety and lives of African people. Black women have the highest pregnancy-related mortality rate per 100,000 births in the United States, 41.4%. Yet, they only make up 13% of the female population. Even one of the most celebrated women in the world, Serena Williams, recounted having her needs and desires disregarded during her labor process. She ended up having several life-threatening blood clots. When speaking to her medical team, she was told, "I think all this medicine is making you talk crazy." As Martin Luther King Jr. says, freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, it must be demanded by the oppressed. This disparity of medicine can only be resolved by training more African American physicians. We need to increase the number of people of color, especially women, in STEM-related fields, such as sciences and maths. Secondly, the staff of all medical schools should be trained in overcoming racial biases. Lastly, universities should improve mental health support and financial aid for pre-medical students of color. Personally, I will help decrease the disparity of medicine by entering the medical field. Just one person can make an impact in their world if they believe and fight hard enough. Through my profession, I will be able to provide quality and steadfast care to my patients and establish a standard for treatment regardless of race or ethnic background. Thank you.
Thank you. There you go. Congratulations. Thank you for your message. What is it? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Also, in the schedule for today, if you read my bio, know that it is supposed to say PGIA debaters, in case you read that already and were confused.
Thank you. Thank you, Kai. Every one of these, I think you'll agree with me in that every one of the honorees has given us an important and different message to hear. And we deserve what they've told us. We need to hear what they've told us, and they deserve our acknowledgement, our respect today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being honored. My friend Neil Pryor is going to introduce our speaker tonight, our guest speaker.
Thank you, Rabbi. I was asked by the president of this congregation, Marilyn Blackhall, to add a little age to these wonderful youths. So I'm going to try to explain why she picked this old man to be up here on this wonderful night celebrating the youth and their appreciation of Martin Luther King. The only reason I'm here is because I'm a retired member of a company that owned a couple of little telephone companies, and after Hurricane Marilyn, not Marilyn, excuse me, it was Irma Maria. After that hurricane in 2017, our company here, it was, I'm not sure if it was Via or whether it was Innovative at the time. Anyway, it used to be Vitelco when I came here in 1987. Anyway, the hurricane had done a great damage to Vitelco and Via, and we were looking at the holding company for somebody who could come here and rehabilitate it. And we looked everywhere. We even went down island. Can you imagine going way down? And when we got to St. Lucia, we found a young woman who was able to convince us from the fact that she had worked for Digicel and managed several companies, the first woman to do that for Digicel, several different companies in the Eastern Caribbean, and she had done the same thing for Cable and Wireless. These are two very large telephone companies, so we were very honored to be able to bring Geraldine Pitt to St. Thomas, and here she is tonight to give you her words about Martin Luther King.
Thank you, Neil.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
You know, as I sat there this evening, I'm kind of wondering, was I really needed here today? I was just wondering, was I really needed here today? I'm not sure, but I mean, having listened to the 8 honorees, the diversity of the topics presented, I think my purpose here today was probably well placed from the point of view of leadership. Each of you, through what you have said, expressed your desire to lead in your respective areas, to lead communities, to lead in your school environment, and therefore that makes it, I think, what my job becomes. So if I can get started, let me take the time to say thank you to the Hebrew congregation for inviting me here tonight. Thank you because being able to be part of a ceremony that celebrates the life of Dr. Martin Luther King is a great honor. And if you 8 young people won't mind, I'd like to become the 9th youth honoree tonight. So I hope you will accept that challenge. I'm not far along. You're getting up to meet me soon anyway, so I'll wait for you, don't worry. But I could be the 9th one tonight. Let me commend Rabbi and the Board of Trustees for consistently doing this over the last 21 years to support young leaders who emulate the many good characteristics of Dr. King. Events such as this ensure that the legacy of Dr. King will continue through generations to come. To the honorees, as I said earlier, I listened to your presentation and with great pride, and I'm even more optimistic about the future than when I walked in here this afternoon. The next generation, I think, is in good hands. When we listen to the positive message today, I know we are in the right direction. The passion for which you express what that Dr. King's Day means to you and his legacy means to you, that's all that we really need. Because with that kind of foundation, we are heading in the right direction. Each of you in your own way, being true to yourself, is a standard bearer and a champion for the positive change we seek in humanity. Globally, when we speak about Dr. Martin Luther King, we are in awe of his legacy. Through his courageous actions, he helped to change the world, and in doing so, many may say he paid the ultimate price. As I look around this evening, I see people who may not be as revered or well known as Dr. King, but individuals who embody many of the same qualities that led him on the path to change the way the world treated African Americans. His messages are powerful and unifying. I think that's probably one of the most important things about his legacy, that he seeks to unify people of different color, race, creed, socioeconomic status. For him, all people should have the same rights. I see the possibilities in your young scholars here this evening, each of you, who are already distinguishing yourself in your scholarship, your drive, sacrifice, passion, which is very important, diligence, and pride. You came up here this evening, with a whole lot of confidence, more than I probably would have done when I was at your stage in my own life. Although I don't know you individually, I know that the mere fact that you are here means that you're already making a difference in your school. And as I had here, hopefully in your community, I think the word hopefully is no longer valid. I can see and hear from your individual stories that you are making a difference already in your community, and that's absolutely important. As Dr. King once said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I encourage you to believe in the cause greater than yourselves. Never settle. Throughout my career, I have seen many young people come into organizations, then settle for the status quo. Many fall into the trap of doing what others do, forgetting that you were chosen to make a difference, to contribute to the change we seek. Stay hungry, make a difference, be inquisitive, ask a million questions. I often get said I ask too many questions, but don't worry about that. You'll land on the right answer one day. Because it is only in asking the million questions, being diligent, staying inquisitive, that you are able to discover your true passion and become a change maker. As you navigate the complex world that you have inherited, remember that generations before you paved the way for your advancement, paid forward. Certainly, your generation is bolder and more outspoken than mine. Because of leaders like Dr. King and the advancement in technology, you can each reach the world from right here in the Virgin Islands. I urge you to use your platforms for good. Let me also share a little bit about my leadership philosophy. I believe that the best leaders are those among us who were leaders when they had no title. And in case you're wondering what this means, consider this. When you're with your peers at school, place of worship, work, or various social media platforms, which, as we all know, have become the screen behind which cowards hide and similar-minded people like and follow. There will always be opportunities for you to influence and to say how to treat each other. Therefore, we have the opportunity to make a positive difference to the outcome, to lift each other up instead of tearing each other down, to see the good in everyone, to be empathetic, to listen to their stories and understand their points of view. These are the qualities of great leaders, which has nothing to do with titles or positions, but has everything to do with goodness of humanity. In this synagogue, there are leaders that are acknowledging your effort right now. You are merely beginning. Just imagine your imprint on the world in the next 5, 10, or 20 years from now. While you may not all be civil rights leaders, you are sure to make a difference in your chosen fields, and your stride in those areas can be equally impactful in improving your community. Consider your gifts, your talents, your grit, tenacity, whatever makes you dynamic, and determine how you can use these traits to help create the world that you dream of. Your actions matter, you matter, and your community needs you. Remember those words from Dr. King. If you can fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. As the CEO of VIA, I embrace my role as an agent of change, and I understand that my purpose is to be of service not only to my team, but to the entire community that I serve. I understand as a business leader, I have a tremendous responsibility to community. Things that we choose to support, how we treat each other internally and externally, would always have a significant impact on the Virgin Islands. As we look at the life and legacy of Dr. King, I am sure you will agree that even he recognized that his greatness was enabled by the people who supported his cause and his ability to collaborate with great minds to achieve the awesome legacy that we celebrate today and emulate in our life's journey. Believe in the great things, believe in yourself, put an effort to succeed, and be guided by the words of Dr. King, who said that faith is taking the first step, even when you don't know the whole staircase. My life's journey and leadership skills were shaped by great focus, willingness to take risk, having honest conversations, listening to others' points of view, constantly learning and evolving, and above all, persevering through the ups and the downs. Dr. King possessed many extraordinary qualities. One of those most important ones, to me at least, is persistence. Keep your eyes on the goal, and when society knocks you down, get up and keep moving towards that goal. Surround yourself with people who share your vision, will support you along the way, and constantly challenge you to be better. Persistence, faith, and diligent work would allow you to manifest the goal that you have for yourself. I would like to conclude by saying to young honorees, 8 of you and your peers who are not here, we all couldn't be here, they all couldn't be here, that you're already on your way to success. Be steadfast and believe in yourself. Always know that while your efforts may not shift the course of history, you have an impact, you can make an impact in life in your school, community, university, or your chosen field. When you think about it that way, the dream is not that daunting. In this congregation today, you will find many examples of people who have achieved great things and who have walked in the light of Dr. King and who are great role models. Seek their counsel. So congratulations to this year's recipients of the Hebrew Congregation St. Thomas Martin Luther King Award. I wish you Godspeed in your academic and career endeavors. To Rabbi and the entire congregation and the supporters of the next generation of leaders, thank you for keeping the legacy of Dr. King alive. Thank you for keeping the dream alive. And thank you for allowing me to participate in the celebration of greatness. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pitt. Wonderful. Wonderful. What a perfect message that you've conveyed to our young people. And I think all of them deserve a standing ovation from us. Please join me. Our President, Marilyn Blackhole, would like to say a word.
When will this mask stuff end?
Get close to the microphone, please.
Can you hear me? I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight, our members, our guests, our visitors, our students, their families. Normally, except for last year when we did this via Zoom, normally the synagogue would be crowded with people. We'd have chairs outside. There just was no room. Unfortunately, because of COVID, and I want to apologize for that, we were not able to have everyone come. So, believe it or not, there are at least as many, maybe if not more, people on Zoom right now watching this service. Your families are members, and they are part of this as well as all of us. So I am sorry, but I do feel their presence, and I feel all of your presence. And as president of the Hebrew congregation, and on behalf of the board of directors and our entire family of members, I'd like to express our pride in tonight's service honoring the students who value and exemplify Dr. Martin Luther King and his ideals. As was said, we've been conducting this service annually for many years. I think it was mentioned as 21 years. I didn't even know how many, but I thought at least that many. And with it, we've had a true sense of admiration for all those students who've been honored tonight and those that have been honored in the past. You are all truly icons of Dr. King, who preached equality, nonviolence, and an end to war just a few of the things that I personally admire about his preachings. As we join together on this Sabbath Eve, people of different cultural origins, we're of different religious affiliations, we recognize that despite our difference, we remain brothers and sisters with a connection to our students who've shown a profound understanding of the teachings of Dr. King, and who we all know, as Ms. Pitt said, will keep his legacy alive, as will the Hebrew congregation and all of you here tonight. So good Sabbath, stay safe and healthy, and please join us up at Lilienfeld House, which is across the street and up the hill, for refreshments. And I thank you for this honor tonight that we all have and we all share together.
Thank you, Marilyn. I'll just say, Marilyn, I think you were this is not her first round as president. Weren't you the first woman president? No.
I was the first woman president in 155 years of this congregation.
So, well, I'm looking at this group of students, and there's 7 young women in this group, and this speaks to the empowerment of women in following an age where, and in the world where women are still suppressed. So this is an important voice to listen to. And in the history of this congregation, confirmation is something that was adopted from Protestant churches and Catholic churches into Reform Judaism. It wasn't part of historical Judaism. And a rabbi came here from Amsterdam in 1840 named Benjamin Cohen Carion. And in 1843, he celebrated the first confirmation service in a Jewish synagogue in the Western Hemisphere in this room. It was 10 years old at that time. It was 5 young women and 2 young men were confirmed. They were the first 5 women to participate in a public Jewish worship service in the Western Hemisphere in this room where you are being honored today. And thank you for the privilege of allowing us to honor you. Page 18, we continue with our concluding prayers, the Aleinu. And I'm going to ask Katina and Donald to open the ark for Aleinu. And when we open the ark, you'll see there are some Torah scrolls. Each one is the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses. The one on the far right has an inscription. It was donated by Isaac Hiskiau Abendana Mendes in 1770. There were 3 other scrolls in the 1770s. Please rise as the ark is opened. Aleinu l'shabeach li'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. So we conclude by saying today that we have a task. Let us go out with a divine dissatisfaction. Let us be dissatisfied until America will no longer have a high blood pressure of creeds and an anemia of deeds. Let us be dissatisfied until the slums are cast into the junk heaps of history and every family is living a decent, sanitary home. Let us be dissatisfied until the tragic walls that separate the outer city of wealth and comfort from the inner city of poverty and despair shall be crushed by the battering rams of the forces of justice. Let us be dissatisfied until men and women, however black or brown or yellow they may be, will be judged on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. Let us be dissatisfied until every state capital houses leaders who do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Let us be dissatisfied until from every city hall justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let us be dissatisfied until that day when the lion and lamb shall lie down together, and all people will sit under their vines and fig trees, and none will make them afraid. At that time, we will recognize V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Please be seated. And before we conclude our service, remember those who have gone before us, those who have been the martyrs of our people, whose graves have gone unmarked, those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. Let us take all into our hearts and into our homes who have blessed us in the past and whose spirits are with us today. And we're observing we're remembering on page 20 at the bottom the recent deaths of a young man who grew up in this congregation, Fall Fjordzik, along with David Yashkowitz and Joseph Reynolds Sams. And the people you see, the bottom of page 19 and the top of page 20, are all the individuals whose anniversaries, their deaths occur this week, and we remember them all. They're important people to every one of us. Is there anyone remembering any of those particular individuals today here? If you would, tell us who you're remembering. Say it again? Sosim Corminet Smith. Okay, thank you. Anyone on Zoom who's remembering anyone today? Yes? Leonard Ewens and Robert Levine. Okay. Anyone on Zoom remembering someone?
Larry Braga.
Say it again?
Larry Braga.
Okay. Let us rise together. There's a prayer on page 21, which is in Aramaic, not in Hebrew, and it does not acknowledge death. It simply is sanctifying and magnifying the name of God, who has given us life with all its limitations and has shared important people with us, even though they are no longer here. Like the stars that we see at night that guide our pathways in life, and they themselves may long ago have burned out and died. And so the people we love shine on through the universe with their love and guide our pathways still. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shemei d'kudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. And on the page 22, please join together. We shall overcome. shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in our heart, we do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll go hand in hand. We'll go hand in hand. We'll go hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in our heart, we still believe we'll go hand in hand someday. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in our heart, we still believe we are not afraid today. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, we still believe we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome someday. Please let us bless each other tonight. Let us bless each other with the wisdom we receive from these young people and from Ms. Pitt. Let us bless each other with what we can do in the world as we march forward together. Shabbat Shalom. Congratulations to all. And honorees, please wave and thank to the camera your friends on Zoom. Shabbat Shalom to you as well. Please join us in the one house up the hill on the other side of the street for our reception. How are you? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Honorees, will you join me for a picture in front of the ark?